Are you in the pursuit of happiness? Is that something that you think that you can actually catch? Is happiness something that's concrete or abstract? Well, I think you should know the answers, but let's explore this just in case, because in America, there's this belief in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But the ironic thing of it is happiness isn't something you can pursue. I mean, how do you pursue it? It isn't going to run away from you or hop or even crawl for that matter. It isn't a living thing. It isn't an inanimate thing. It is an abstract concept. It is a feeling, and therefore you can't pursue it. And ironically, from a psychological standpoint, the more you try to pursue it, unless you are very successful at choosing wisely, planning wisely, and realizing that, as Andrew Carnegie once said, happiness is getting what you, is wanting what you get. Success is getting what you want. Which isn't exactly correct in my opinion, but it's close enough for this discussion. Happiness being a concrete thing is something that, like success, can feel completely unobtainable. And therefore you can constantly feel frustrated, which develops into stress and unhappiness. So actually, by doing things with the goal of becoming happier, you're putting a burden on yourself, a psychological burden that makes it less likely that you'll be happy. Because not only are you pursuing something that you can't catch, but you are holding your expectations up to a level that may not be realistic and fueling a sense of failure. You're also taking the wrong approach. So when I was a kid growing up, they used to say something about happiness and blah, 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 and I never really understood it. And it was very, very frustrating for me because I couldn't understand it. I didn't know what to do to be able to feel happier. And of course, that just made it that much worse for me. And then eventually I realized the real secret to happiness is not pursuing it, but choosing to be happy, choosing to look at things positively, albeit with a sprinkle of realism, rather than always being dissatisfied or disappointed and so on and so forth. Once I changed my mindset about the world around me, about my life, things got a lot easier for me, and I had less problems, but not no problems, but less problems with being unhappy and even sad and even depressed. My life looked better. Why? Because all those years that I had been pursuing happiness, all those years that I had been suffering from depression, I had been thinking so negatively that I was missing out on opportunities, and I was assuming the worst outcomes in situations where I didn't actually know what the outcome would be. So I ended up cheating myself. I ended up missing out on the things that might have been rewarding for me. Another problem that we tend to have when we want to be happy is we expect external things to make us happy. This is called it's basically a problem, because even if you get something that you really want, the happiness is only going to last so long. So say, for example, you get a car and the next day, a brand new car, and the next day you have problems. Immediately, your happiness is marred by the problems with the brand new car that you were so excited to get because it's not meeting your expectations. Or, say, for example, you get a new car or even a used one, and somebody accidentally sideswipes your car, and so your car is now a mess, maybe even a wreck. And so you're unhappy again. So when we put ourselves beholden to things in order to feel happy, for one reason or another, even just the passage of time, we will cease to be happy because we possess that. And this is a trap that a lot of people fall into when they get more money. They think, oh, I've got more money, therefore I can buy more things and I'm going to be happier. Well, that isn't necessarily true. Some people, rather than pursuing things, pursue activities. And yes, you can get a sense of happiness from doing things, but it's also sometimes a trap because, say, for example, you become very personally identified with the thing that you're doing that gives you such joy. If that opportunity to do that thing disappears, the result is the source of your happiness, as in your personal identification with what you were doing, is gone and may not be replaceable because you were so fixated on it. You have to be flexible. If one thing ceases to provide you with a source of joy, then you have to be flexible enough to say, well, it's too bad, but now I'm going to do something else. And ultimately, one of the things that a lot of people find to be more gratifying, more rewarding for them is when they do things that help other people. Now, granted, there are people who don't feel that way. They only do it for selfish motives. They do it to get something that's free to them because they're volunteering their time, for example, or they're using that opportunity to help others in order to make connections with people who can help them, or they're using that opportunity to take advantage of people that they are in contact with in one way or another. It could be that they're victimizing the people that are coming seeking help. It could be that they're victimizing fellow volunteers and workers. It just depends. So it doesn't work for everybody. Nothing does, unfortunately. There are always exceptions to every rule. And that's one of the reasons why ideologies and political systems and governmental systems and so on and so forth ultimately are flawed and don't work the way they're supposed to, because we're too diverse in our psychological makeups, and the thinkers that come up with these systems are not able to encompass everything. So, getting back to the point here, if you want to be happy, number one, you need to create happiness in yourself. Decide that you want and deserve to be happy, and you're going to allow yourself to be happy. Now, along with that, you also need to then change the way you view the world. Instead of being pessimistic or a negative realist, you need to become at least a positive realist, if not very positive, but not to the point of being out of touch with reality. You need to, and when I say this, I'm not saying that you fake it until you make it kind of thing, which I hate because it's a false motivation used by salespeople, and it doesn't actually work. It puts a lot of stress on you, which for many people is a stress that's unresolvable, especially if you're working in network marketing or multi-level marketing. Trying to fake it until you make it when you don't have the money to fake it is very hard. So don't fake it until you make it, but just decide, okay, from now on, I am going to take risks when there's an opportunity. So if I see that person that I really am attracted to, I'm going to go talk to them. If I see a different job where I work that I'm interested in, I'm going to take a look at it. And if it looks like I have a chance, even a small chance, I'm going to apply for it. Whether I get it or not, that's okay, but I'm going to try. And you're going to take every other situation where you would normally back away from it, being afraid of failure, and just take that chance, because guess what? If you don't try, you automatically fail. If you do try, you may fail, but you may succeed. So that's the kind of attitude you need to take. You need to be willing to take a little bit of risk and step outside the box of failure in order to sometimes have success, because otherwise it's always going to be failure when there is a choice involved. And so between these two things, you embrace the concept that I describe as happiness comes from within, because it's your choice. You can deny yourself happiness, or you can grant yourself happiness. It's up to you, because external things, whether it's people or places or things or even abstract concepts, can only give you a temporary sense of happiness. And only through deciding to be in a state of happiness can you achieve that state. So starting from now, I want you to start practicing that. And if you're unsure of how to approach it, don't worry. It does take some time to kind of rewire your brain to go along with it, but it will happen eventually. Now, if you have any questions, please do feel free to give me a comment or a question in the comment section, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible, as long as Facebook remembers to let me know that you've left me a comment. One thing I have noticed about the comment section is if you put a comment responding to a comment, often I don't get a message from Facebook saying, hey, there's a comment to a comment. So making a new comment rather than responding to somebody else, and I'm more likely to see it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.